Mr. Putin, if I'm president of the United States, trust me, you're not going to interfere in any more American elections.
You seem like you enjoyed that.
Well, look, you got a situation where what the Russians did in 2016 is very, very serious stuff. We pride ourselves. What are we as a nation? If we don't have democracy, if we don't have the right to cast ballots that are secure, if we're not living in a free country. And Putin, not only in the United States, by the way, but all over Western Europe, is trying to disrupt democracy. He's an autocrat. He doesn't believe in democracy. He's trying to divide our people up in very, very ugly ways. That is an enormously serious attack against the American people. As President of the United States, that will end. Russia will not interfere in our elections.
The overall tone of when you say we're attacks on you were not just about you because they want to be the front runner, not you. It was about you as an existential threat to the Democrats and the notion of trying to be Donald Trump. And I'm just wondering how you combat that, not only on the presidential level, but also down ballot. I mean, I know I've heard from lots of Democrats who are focused on and even themselves trying to win again in suburbs who are freaking out.
Well, Dana, look, let's be clear. The establishment is freaking out. The corporate media, to a larger degree, is freaking out. As you're aware, some really horrific things have been said about me on at least one television channel. The establishment is worried. Wall Street is worried. The drug companies are worried. The insurance companies are worried. The fossil fuel industry is worried. And you know what? They should be worried. But here is the point. In the last 50 polls that have been done nationally, guess what? Bernie Sanders beat Donald Trump 47 times out of 50. I will beat Trump. In battleground states like Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, just look at the polling this last weekend. I beat Trump. The way you beat Trump, in my view, is to have the largest voter turnout in the history of this country. And if you run a campaign in the same old way that we have run it in the past, if there's not energy and excitement, if you're not getting working class people to get involved in the political process, if you're not bringing millions of young people into the political process, and we are doing that, I think Trump is going to win.
And just to be even more specific, Nancy Pelosi is Speaker of the House because the Democrats won the suburbs.
Right.
And there is a lot of concern that Bernie Sanders at the top of the Democratic ticket means bye-bye to the suburbs. It's not about the corporate, structure or so forth. It's about the demographics of the suburbs.
No, I think, again, kind of, we might want to listen to the people. And the people voted for me in Iowa, in New Hampshire, and in Nevada. And I think we're going to do very well in the coming elections. I think too often we have leadership that is isolated from where real people are. And if we're going to beat Trump, we need a powerful message that says, you know what? We need an economy and a government that works for everybody, not just the 1%. We don't talk about this on corporate media very often. We don't talk about it in the Congress very often. But is something wrong when after 45 years of an increase in productivity and technology, the average American worker is not making a nickel more than he or she did 45 years ago? When in the last 3 years, the billionaires of this country have seen an $800 billion increase in their wealth, while last year the average American worker saw a 1% increase in his or her income. We need fundamental changes. We need a government that works for all, not just the Michael Bloombergs of the world or wealthy campaign contributors.
So Marco Rubio's campaign manager wrote an op-ed the other day. It was interesting. It started off describing a fiery septuagenarian who calls out the corporate media, who comes in second in Iowa, first in New Hampshire.
I know where you're going on that.
Okay. Is there something that you share? When you talk about the polls or you talk about the corporate media, that you're tapping into the same things that he tapped into successfully?
Look, I've spent my whole life doing the best that I could fighting for justice. When I was a kid, I think I was 21 years of age, I was arrested in the city of Chicago, opposing segregated housing, was involved in the civil rights movement. And when I became a member of the Senate, I went to Immokalee, Florida, to stand with undocumented workers who were getting ruthlessly exploited, and we had some impact on it. That's what I've done. I've been on more picket lines, probably with everybody on that stage. Come on, that is what I do. That is what my life is about. And I think at the end of the day, people in this country will understand that Donald Trump is a fraud. He told the working people of this country in 2016 that he would provide health care to everybody. You covered that, right? That's what he said. Then he tried to throw 32 million people off the health insurance that they have. He said his tax bill would not benefit the rich. 83% of the benefits of that bill went to the top 1% over a 10-year period. He said he wouldn't cut Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. That is what his budget has done. He is a fraud. And if I'm the Democratic nominee, I will expose him for the fraud he is. He is not a friend of working people. He represents his own class, which is the billionaire class.
So when Amy Klobuchar says, and she was just on with us a few moments ago, she talks about her math, which she laid out there, right? That she was critical of you, saying that your projected costs for what you're suggesting are 3 times greater than the size of the entire U.S. economy right now.
Right now, the average American, just in terms of healthcare, the average American worker, that family is making about $60,000 a year. That family right now is paying $12,000 a year for healthcare. Does anyone think that that's fair? That that's right? 20% of people's income are now going to healthcare. Under my proposal, that would go substantially down. A study just came out from Yale showing that Medicare for All will save $450 billion a year and save 68,000 lives because people will finally be able to go to the doctor before they have a terminal illness. Every study done shows that Medicare for All will save money, and that is what we have got to do.
Can I just ask you about that? Because you served in the Congress for a long time, and I've watched you. You understand the realities as much as you are passionate about what you want to do. You understand what you can and cannot do. Do you actually think if you become president, you can get that passed?
Yes,
In any, even if there's a supermajority of Democrats?
I'm going to be, our campaign is a different type of campaign. Our campaign is not vote for me, I'm a great guy. Our campaign is a multiracial, multi-generational movement of working people, black and white and Latino, Native American, Asian American, coming together in the fight for justice. I've said it before, I say it again. If elected president, I will not just be commander-in-chief of the military, I believe that. I will be organizer-in-chief. I will be going all over the country to put pressure on senators like those from Kentucky, for example. Go to the people in Kentucky who are really hard-pressed, they're hurting right now, and say, really? Do you think we should raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour? You tell your senators to do that. Should we make public colleges and universities tuition-free? You tell your senators to do that. I think I will be a very different type of president, rallying the American people around an agenda that they support and telling Congress that they've got to represent ordinary Americans, not just their wealthy campaign contributors. That is the problem with American politics today. Congress represents wealthy campaign contributors, ignores the needs of the middle class and working families.
Senator, thank you very much. We appreciate
Thank you,
Senator.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We're going to take a quick break. We're expecting Senator Elizabeth Warren right here next. We're covering debate night in South Carolina. Stay with us.
Introducing Schwab Intelligent Income, a simple, modern way to pay yourself from your portfolio. Tell us how much you have and how long you need it to last. We'll estimate how much you could spend, then you can decide how you'll spend it. Schwab manages the complexity with automated tax-smart withdrawals that you can start, stop, or adjust at any time with no penalties, and you pay no advisory fee. Schwab Intelligent Income. Schwab, a modern approach to wealth management.
If you're 55 and up, T-Mobile has a plan designed just for you. And for a limited time only, we're making it an even better deal. Now you can get 2 lines for only $55. That includes unlimited talk, text, and data with no annual service contract. It also includes talk, text, and data when traveling in Mexico and Canada. So if you're 55 and up, you can now get 2 lines for only $55. Because at T-Mobile, we have a plan designed just for you.
Wow, that's amazing. I think that next they're going to interview Elizabeth Warren, but hopefully Anthony will come back soon. I mean, the panel will be discussing soon. Yeah, it's really amazing. I mean, people from all over the world are following Andrew Yang.
One night,
Yet,
2 nights,
people are in the United States are sleeping. I can't understand why so many people are easily fooled by other people, the other candidates,
And we can
like Male Pete.
like Schwab Intelligent Income.
Does anybody
Schwab's
has
Intelligent
any
Income, a simple model
explanation?
to pay yourself from your portfolio.
Oh, that's cool. I mean, we don't have that.
Schwab, a modern approach to wealth management.
CNN dominates digital. #1 in global news. #1 on mobile. And
See, Twitter is trending. Could had Yang.
with the largest audience in history. This is CNN.
I didn't know we were having dinner tonight.
It's also trending Tom Steyer. Huh.
With Selsun Blue, it's powerful relief from flakes and itch. How could you? Selsun Blue!
Imagine feeling fearless at the dentist. Imagine strengthening enamel while preventing cavities 70%. Act anti-cavity. Stop imagining. Start acting. And now get anti-cavity protection in new dye-free iced formulas.
Goli, the world's first apple cider vinegar gummies make being healthy simple.
Goli makes weight loss simple.
All day energy. Simple.
Jim, want some cake?
No, thank you.
Did you folks watch the debate tonight?
And
It was
it's
actually
delicious.
pretty.
Healthy doesn't have to taste
Was
bad.
watching.
In fact, with Goli,
Everyone
it's
was
actually
going after Bernie Sanders. Everyone. And they should.
Inside the Royal Dynasty, Sundays at 10 on CNN.
Closed captioning brought to you by InVet Health. Call 1-800-710-0020.
Do you have an idea for an invention?
Call today
What does
for
this
free
mean?
information.
Could A
Call
had
800-710-0020.
Could America had
Coming up at the
Yang?
top of the hour,
Is that-
Democratic debate night in South Carolina. For some of the candidates tonight, raw political combat. For others, a chance to try to make the case that just such warfare, as tempting as it might be in a primary race, could be fatal in a general election campaign. However the candidates chose to conduct themselves tonight, this was a significant moment, the last debate before Super Tuesday, full of issues voters care about at a time when the stakes are only growing. We're going to bring you all the key moments tonight. We'll be talking to more candidates shortly. Senator Elizabeth Warren is going to be coming up shortly. We're joined right now by the best political team around, Malika Henderson, David Axelrod, Gloria Borger, Van Jones, former candidate Andrew Yang.
Oh, Andrew Yang.
And CNN political commentator Abdul Al-Said,
There we go.
who we should mention has endorsed
There we go.
Sanders.
Our boy.
We've heard from a couple of candidates so far. Pete Buttigieg seems to feel pleased about what he was able to do on the stage tonight. Let's talk a little bit more about Biden and where you see his performance tonight. I mean, he definitely...
Look, the bar is low for Biden. Let's just admit that the bar for him is low. But listen, he didn't do anything tonight that would break his momentum in South Carolina. It's very clear that Bernie is gaining on him in South Carolina. But he did stuff that reminded you of why you care about this guy. He's been on the American scene for a long time. He gets shouty. That doesn't work as well. Shouty.
Yeah, what all Andrew Yang's missing is name recognition. I mean, it's just the fact that when you talk to random people, Andrew Yang, who's Andrew Yang, they just say, who? Oh, I was like, and then if you look at, his YouTube videos, I mean, none of them has more than 5 million views. That just, it's so telling. I mean, why couldn't we see that?
Surprise, surprise.
But the reality is that that is a conversation a lot of Democrats are having because they're concerned about Bernie Sanders in the suburbs, where Democrats picked up 3 dozen seats or so in the last election, and whether he at the top of the ticket would jeopardize those House seats. That is one of the arguments you hear against his candidacy among people within the party.
It's an argument that people are making across the board. I think it's also just convenient that Pete, the only way Pete is going to be the nominee is if there's a brokered convention and people turned to him. And so
I think the only way Pete's going to be the nominee is if he can persuade some African Americans to vote for him. I thought he had a great debate tonight. I really thought he was the best on that stage. But the question is, did he move the needle at all? He's polling 4% among African Americans in South Carolina. Do you think that he moved the needle at all with those voters? And if not, to what avail was it?
So 2 points. Pete's extremely smart, and that's clear. At points, you feel like he gets bored of his own message. He really wants to be a pundit and to describe what's happening rather than to actually talk about what matters for people. And I don't know that that's going to play very well over the long term. Also, for somebody who admires Congress so much, you'd think he might run for Congress, which seems like a logical thing to do if you were mayor of a small city.
And you're 38 years old.
And you're 38 years old. But to step back for a second, we did talk about Bloomberg a bit, and we did say that he wasn't the butt of all jokes, and he tried to even make a couple of jokes. You wonder if this is the best he can do. You ask yourself why he's still in this race. It's clear if you've been surrounded by people who laugh at your jokes because they're paid to do it.
Well, he's $60 billion. I mean, that's why he's still in the race. He is running these ads. I was in Illinois a couple of days ago, and he has this very powerful ad talking about criminal justice reform, and there's a criminal justice advocate who is talking about how great Michael Bloomberg is. So that's why he's still in this race. He's also in this race because there are, I think, a certain segment of Democratic voters who think you need a rich white man to take on a rich white man. And you can see that in the polls. He's at, I think, about 15%. He's got some traction in some of these Super Tuesday states as well, and with African American voters. Mayor Steve Benjamin in South Carolina has endorsed him. Mayor Nutter, a bunch of black mayors from across the country. I thought he had a terrible debate early on. It got a little better when he started talking about some of the things he actually did in New York with obesity and other issues. But listen, I think if you are worried about a Bloomberg candidacy, you have Warren to thank tonight because she keeps going after him in a way that I think is going to do her some good.
That recitation of Republicans that he has supported was just such a strong moment, and it wound up. And then she went back to the NDAs, and it wound up with almost another "nevertheless she persisted" moment where he says enough is never enough for you, and I think that was probably something that resonated with some women.
Let's play actually what she said about his support for Republican candidates.
Mayor Bloomberg, let's think of it this way. We're here in Charleston, and you know who's going to be in Charleston later this week is Donald Trump. He's going to be here to raise money for his buddy, Senator Lindsey Graham. Who funded Lindsey Graham's campaign for re-election last time? It was Mayor Bloomberg. And that's not the only
Past 20 years. Now, some Democrats may say that's fine. We don't mind that he's been bipartisan. He's allowed to give his money to all kinds of causes, and he's done some great things. But it seems arrogant to say it doesn't matter, and what's in my ads matters. So you have to come out from behind the curtain, and I think we've seen him do that. And he hasn't been particularly impressive. Better today than last time. And I think at some point you have to get people to say, this is the person I am trusting to be commander-in-chief, and I have to kind of understand him a little bit more, and I don't just want to know what's in a glossy ad. Money gets you so far, but not the whole distance.
He's so disconnected from the challenges that real people face. I mean, I'm from Michigan, and one of the defining issues we've had to deal with is the Flint water crisis. This guy spent $3 million to re-elect a Republican governor who then went on to poison Flint. And so you think about him thinking about these things as sideshows because he's so used to setting an agenda, to deciding what matters among the mountain of people who work for him, that actually, in this case, it's what matters to the American people. This man doesn't know what it's like to live on a minimum wage in America. He doesn't know what it's like to suffer without the health care that you need. He doesn't know what it's like to be worried about losing your job.
Couldn't you make that same argument about Donald Trump? I mean,
absolutely.
Yeah. So, but
if we end up having a Donald Trump versus
but he was able to, nevertheless, he was able to win and might very well win again.
Here's the difference, though. Donald Trump has an understanding. He's a showman. He has an understanding of what gets to people. Mayor Bloomberg clearly is not. I mean,
but his argument would be, you know what? I'm not a great communicator. I'm not a great politician, and I've done a lot of stupid stuff. Like I've learned a lot in my time.
And if that's your
but,
argument, that would have been a good thing to say tonight.
But I get it done. You know what? I can run this. I can run this country. I've run this huge city. I can get it done. I hear it's like the George H.W. Bush speech. I hear the voices of
right.
I see the people.
You can't argue. It's not really right to say because he is wealthy because Franklin Roosevelt, who everybody reveres, was incredibly wealthy. I don't think that disqualifies you, and he has done things on issues like guns that are very material in your hometown of Detroit and in my hometown of Chicago, very, very significant. But you're running to be the Democrat nominee, and the reason that Elizabeth Warren piece was so devastating was, you're funding people who are anathema to, Lindsey Graham is anathema to Democrats, and it's hard for people to understand how you could be the leader of this team when you were funding that. That's been his problem.
But push back on the point though, right? The problem with him is not that he's rich. It's not even that he's a billionaire. It's that he fundamentally lacks the empathy to appreciate how his policies in New York hurt people. He had the opportunity again to apologize for stop and frisk. And his apology was more like, why do you guys keep asking me? I've already said I'm sorry. And I lived in New York during stop and frisk. I know what it's like to be stopped and frisked as a brown man. This disrespect for people and lack of empathy, that's the problem. That's what we can't have in a president.
And people expected him to get closer to showing some empathy on stop and frisk. This go round, he was just as terrible in this debate in terms of his answer being very dismissive, essentially saying, "Oh, this was a sideshow too."
And lying. Let's play what he said, and we keep talking.
We let it get out of control, and when I realized that, I cut it back by 95%. And I've apologized and asked for forgiveness. I've met with black leaders to try to get an understanding of how I can better position myself and what I should have done and what I should do next time. But let me tell you, I have been working very hard. We've improved the school system for black and brown students in New York City. We've increased the jobs that are available to them. We've increased the housing that's available to them.
What more
we have
can
programs
you do about
like
this issue, Mr. Mayor, to put people's fears and skepticism to rest?
I think
it continues to follow you.
No, well, that's because it's in their interest to promote that. But if you talk to the people in New York City, I have over 100 black elected officials that have endorsed me. A lot of them are in the audience tonight. And I've earned the respect of the people in New York City. I was the mayor of the largest, most populous city in the United States for 12 years, and people will tell you it's a lot better city today. It is safer for everybody. The school system is better. The budget's under control. We've done the things that people need in New York City for all ethnicities.
Can I just say white candidates have to stop doing this I have black friends as an answer to something racist that has happened that they have done in their past, that they've said or done. And he keeps saying, when I realized stop and frisk had gone too far, as if there was not a court order to stop it because he had been sued and he fought it and they won.
He was backing it up as late as 2018.
Until he ran for president.
The realization was a week before something that he announced for president, and he doesn't feel very convincing when he offers his apology. Mike Bloomberg thinks that he is the most qualified person to be president based on what he's done. He approaches this as a job interview, and this other stuff he does not think is particularly relevant.
Bloomberg's case for the nomination is essentially the opposite of Pete Buttigieg's, and let me explain. So, this election, this primary is going to happen on Saturday, and then Super Tuesday is literally 3 days later. Pete's campaign does not have the financial resources to advertise in the Super Tuesday states at a competitive level. That's why they put out this plea for donations very recently, because they need that ad money. They need to cut those ads and then put them in those markets as quickly as possible. And 3 days is not enough time, really, to do it, even if he has a good result in South Carolina, which none of us really expects. Bloomberg's argument is essentially the opposite. Is like, I've got infinite bankroll to fund ads in Super Tuesday and throughout the entire primaries and against Donald Trump. Whatever the Republicans marshal as resources, I can outspend. The big missing piece to me is why Bloomberg would not just take all of these resources and put them towards a candidate that he believed in. It reminds me of like a movie director who casts himself. You know what I mean? It's like, I can't find anyone who's going to be better in this role than me. And like, I looked in the mirror and I said, so that's like a very big question in my mind. But the argument he has is going to stick with us this entire primary season as long as he stays in the race. I thought today was a much better debate for Mike. And I actually have to say the improvement from less than a week ago to today was significant. Like, he went from being, looking like he didn't belong to at least seeming like he fit in.
We got to take a quick break. We're going to hear from Senator Elizabeth Warren when we come back, as well as other candidates. More on the impact of what they said when our coverage continues.
Wow, Andrea's comments were spot on. So he was basically saying, I mean, if Bloomberg or Steyer, I mean, any of them would just put, I don't know, like 1/10 of the money they spent on him, on Andrew Yang, he could win the whole thing. Seriously. I mean, he didn't have that financial resource. I mean, Yang Gan's mostly maxed out, and a lot of potential voters, potential Yang Gans were fooled by people like P. Buttigieg, right? Copycat. That's why he, had to suspend. Do you agree?
What's going on? It's a 3 p.m. slot. Should I be 3? Yeah. Need energy? Get D3 with a mix of meat, cheese, and
That's right. He didn't want to take donations from Yang Gan, when he did the math and, figure out with the current resources, he's not going to win. But if, let's just say, Tom Steyer, realized that he doesn't belong here, and he, decided to spend his money to support the candidate who can actually beat Trump, just be a little less selfish, okay? Come on, you have to realize what you're doing. I mean, you spend millions, tens of millions of dollars, or maybe more than that. It's probably more than that in Iowa and Nevada, but you're getting zero outcome. I mean, you're getting zero delegates close to that. So why are you still here? I mean, and you spend even more money in South Carolina. It's true that your polling is getting higher, but that's not enough. Don't fool yourself, right? I mean, think about who has the best policies, who is most likable on internet.
Hi, I'm Adrian. Thanks for coming. No problem. Check it out. Yeah.
It came right to me with expert service where I needed it. That service I can trust, no matter what I'm hauling. Right, girl?
Safe like repair, safe like replace.
Come on.
Things you can do with Schwab. You can earn more when you invest your cash.
What is POC? Marvin said wanted metrics from states with POC. What is that?
You can also wonder why our competitors.
Yeah, it's true. It's hard to break through when your party is against you.
A modern approach to wealth management. I use the color that protects as it colors. Excellence hair color from
Oh, people color, yes. Okay, thanks, Ryan.
Radiant color. No color protects or covers grays better. So much care in one little box. Excellence creme from L'Oreal. Available at Walmart.
If you don't know your numbers, you don't know your business. I learned this the hard way with my first company, so I created NetSuite, the world's #1 cloud business system.
Schedule your free product tour right now at netsuite.com/grow.
I got a good feeling. Feel it in my bones, gotta shake it out. I'm going harder than before, let me hear you shout. I'm the talk of the town. I know you're feeling it now.
Transitions right under control.
Fact, we all love video doorbells. Voice assistants have changed our lives. We now control our home with a touch. And you know what's better than all these things by themselves? All these things combined from the most trusted name in security, ADT.
We're back to debate night in South Carolina. I want to go straight to Aaron Burnett and Dana Bash and Senator Elizabeth Warren. Dana, Aaron?
All right, thank you, Anderson, and we are here with Senator Warren. So,
Okay.
How'd you feel tonight in that free-for-all?
Warren must feel good.
It was a free-for-all, but I feel good. I got to talk about the things I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, Andrea said Warren has another phenomenal debate.
That's got to be a good night.
And you did, some of your fire had not been trained until.
I think I may be wrong, but.
But you did directly say tonight.
And he said Michael Bloomberg actually did much better. Now he finally feels like he belongs here.
Very strong front runner.
Look, the way I see it is we learned two things that we talked about tonight. The first one is that we've just got to understand. The Democratic Party is a progressive party, and progressive ideas are popular. They're popular among Democrats, they're popular among independents, they're popular among Republicans. My 2-cent wealth tax, popular among Democrats and Republicans. Raising Social Security by $200 a month, popular among Democrats and Republicans. So there is a real progressive sense of what we can do. We get this moment. This is not a moment for any of the people on the stage who want to kind of nibble around the edges of problems. I think that this is a progressive moment, but we're only going to get one chance at this, and that means we need a president who has a track record for getting things done, for digging in, for doing the hard work, for building the coalitions, and for actually getting things done.
Several of your fellow Democrats, your competitors, made very clear in no uncertain terms that they believe that Bernie Sanders as the Democratic nominee will be a disaster for Democrats, that he can't win because of his progressive policies, some of the ones that you were talking about. Do you subscribe to that? Do you think Bernie Sanders can beat Donald Trump?
Look, I think that the most dangerous candidate on that stage for Democrats is Michael Bloomberg. Because right now, Michael Bloomberg has dumped, $400 million into buying his way onto that debate stage. And yet look at all the things that are not yet exposed about Michael Bloomberg. How much support he has given to Republicans, which raises a real question. So, okay, he beats Donald Trump, and then who is he really? Is he a Democrat or is he a Republican? His history with women, his attacking African Americans and Latinos, blaming them, blaming redlining, blaming them for the housing crash in 2008. This is not a man who's going to be able to garner the support of all of the Democrats, and that would be a real problem for us going into 2020.
Let me ask you
the general election.
Let me ask you just a quick follow. You were not asked about this. Nobody was, including the former mayor. His longtime partner, Diana Taylor, said last night on the question of the NDAs and so forth, it was 30 years ago, get over it. But just to be fair to her, the context of that was that she worked on Wall Street. She understands that the culture was very, very different back then, that it was a bro culture.
Look, if you want to make the argument it was a different culture, fine, make that argument. But release the women to be able to talk. This notion that there are, I don't know how many women, and maybe men, who claim that they have been harassed or discriminated against, and they are not able to tell their stories without fear of being sued by a billionaire. No, that just doesn't cut it. Not in the Democratic Party, not in 2020.
So I want to understand exactly what you're saying on that, because obviously he said he will release the women from the NDAs which applied to him specifically, which he says are 3. So do you say that he's lying, or do you think that he should release people from NDAs that have nothing to do with them?
Let me be really clear here. If there are only 3, and he's right on that, he could sign a general release because it would apply to only 3 people, right? So why won't he sign a general release? And also, I think it's very important. This is about the mayor himself and the mayor's company that he runs. So not all of this is from 30 years ago. We don't know how much there is and what the time is, but I do know this. Women have had enough of being told, no, it was a different time, didn't know how to take a joke. What was it the mayor said tonight? Enough is enough? No. When we're talking about pregnancy discrimination, which goes on today, enough is not enough.
He denied that happened.
He denied it, but where is she? That's the whole point. Women should have a chance. I get to tell my story without fear of being sued by a billionaire. other women should be able
So
to
he
do
said
the
that
same.
Bloomberg will no longer have NDAs, which he credited
Going
you
forward.
with. Right,
Good.
but he credited you with that.
Great.
That would be that makes a difference.
Bam.
He pointed out when you made the point about pregnancy discrimination that with what he did in New York, that would be against the law to do to any teacher. Does any of that add up to anything to you?
Of course it does, and I'm very, very happy to see it, but it does not change the fact that today there are women who claim to have been discriminated against or sexually harassed who are not legally able to speak without running a risk that they will be sued by a billionaire. And a lot of folks can't take that kind of risk. So all I'm saying is, you know, we talk a lot in the Me Too era about the importance of believing women. How about just starting out and letting them speak? That's what the mayor should do.
And you're saying that releasing 3 is not enough.
He picked the 3.
So you want them all released?
Yeah.
I mean, and as a lawyer, I mean, I'm just saying, that would be all right for him to do, even if the 2 complainants did not involve himself.
Look,
you know, some other person, man who worked at Bloomberg and a woman who worked at Bloomberg.
He tried last week to take credit. He said, no, my company won all of these terrific awards, and therefore that reflects on me. Well, you know, you gotta take the up with the down in that argument. He's the one who opened that door. Once you've opened that door, then it's absolutely clear. You gotta take whatever's out there for the companies that you run. This is about taking responsibility. And look, it really is about who we can trust to be our nominee on the Democratic side going into a general election.
On that note, let's just look ahead. We have the primary here on Saturday, and Super Tuesday, including your home state of Massachusetts. Where do you see yourself winning in order to keep your campaign going?
You know, I just see this as every day I get out here and have a chance to talk about progressive values and to talk about the importance of getting things done, like the consumer agency that I fought for and that has now returned $12 billion directly to people. That's how I make change. And I'm just delighted, I'm honored to be in this fight. Look,
will you win Massachusetts?
I'll tell you this. When I got in the race back in 2012, remember, I haven't been in politics that long. It's the first race I ever got in. When I got in 2012, it was because people were saying Scott Brown, the Republican, is simply unbeatable. And they also said a woman can't beat him. You know, for which I say Democrats get a better sales pitch. But I got in that race, I was down 17 points, and the good people of Massachusetts basically said to me, you take the point, and we'll come and help you. People volunteered, people made it happen. And I ended up beating by 7.5 points. I'm deeply grateful to the people of Massachusetts, and I've tried really hard to hold faith with all the trust that they put in me.
Senator, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
It's always good to be here, and look, anybody who thinks this is the right way to run a presidential, I hope they go to ElizabethWarren.com. After the last debate, we had 250,000 people come to our website and say, I'm in this fight for a whole lot of different reasons, but ultimately, because I believe in America, we can build it.
Thank you. Thank you,
So
Senator.
good to see you.
Thank you. You too. And we're going to take a quick break, back with more candidates and more analysis in New York with Anderson and the team. This is a special 360 debate night coverage. Stay with us.
Will change business in America. T-Mobile has the first and only nationwide 5G network. And with it, you can shape the future. We've invested $30 billion and built our new 5G network for businesses like yours. While some 5G signals only go a few blocks, T-Mobile 5G goes for miles. No other 5G signal goes farther or is more reliable in business. Tomorrow is in your hands. Partner with T-Mobile for business today.
At BMW, we didn't make just one SUV, we made the ultimate range SUV. Unmatched power, luxury, and performance. The BMW X5 is prepared for any road you travel. No matter who you are, no matter where you're going, no matter what's next, there's an X to take you there. Free and release a 2020 X3 X-Drive 30i for $479 a month.
It took plenty of work to get here, but it's still important to be prepared for what's next. At Fidelity, we can help you build a clear plan for retirement without the unnecessary fees you might expect from so many financial firms. We'll make sure you can cover the essentials, as well as all the things you want to do. Because when you have a retirement partner who gives you clarity at every step, there's nothing to stop you from moving forward.
The best ingredients are easy to explain. Like food that's grown from soil and grain. Artichokes and eggs have nothing to hide.
Sorry, I'm trying to stabilize it so I don't have to hold it all the time.
Chunky or plain, fuel for the brain. Absolutely anything but.
So hard.
We only sell food we know you'll adore.
Okay.
Icky products are plain.
Hopefully that works.
Saying no to that stuff is more
Stay,
than
stay.
gold, because that's what makes us gold.
Stay. Okay.
What if there was something that can reduce
Is that good?
body fat, boost mood, get rid of wrinkles,
Not the
tighten
best,
saggy
but
skin, and make you look and feel decades, not years, but
at
decades
least it's
younger?
not
Interested?
moving.
Zero Vital, available at Ulta and smarter retailers nationwide.
Carl and Alan, they're staying at the same hotel, but there's one big difference: the price. Carl found
Okay, I
a
hope this is better.
website, whereas Alan used Trivago to scan hotel deals from the major booking sites and save $30 a night. Hotel Trivago.
Ah, BritBox. Nothing to see here. No funny business, no unnecessary drama, and no mystery left unsolved. Just the biggest streaming collection of British TV ever. Start a free trial today.
We are present at the making of history.
A new queen takes the throne. As private lives become the public's obsession.
The Windsors Inside the Royal Dynasty. Sunday at 10 on CNN.
The party won't stop on the Motor Mile. 45 years in business and the celebration continues. Drive a 2020 Subaru Outback Premium model code LVD Package 11 with heated seats, dual zone AC, and more. Only $28,190. A new Subaru for $28,190.
A great selection to choose from, and getting approved for credit is easy on the Motor Mile because Sheeler owns the finance company. Celebrating 45 years of business at Motor Mile Subaru on the Sheeler Motor Mile. Why start anywhere else? Hi, we're glad you came in. What's on your mind? Can you help these guys protect it online? Easy. Connect to the X5 gateway. What about internet speed that keep up with the data? Let's hook you up with the fastest internet from Xfinity. What about wireless data options for the family? Of course. You can customize and save.
Should we save me from this conversation?
That was useful. But come in and see candid. New Year, make life simple, easy, awesome. Ask, shop, discover at your local Xfinity store today.
Live presidential town halls continues tomorrow night at 7, only on CNN.
Closed captioning brought to you by InventHelp. Call 1-800-710-0020.
Do you have an idea for an invention?
Call today for free information. Call 800-710-0020.
Difficult and chaotic were two words that Jess McIntosh used earlier tonight to describe tonight's Democratic debate. Andrew Yang talked about the fact that for some of the candidates, this could be their last chance to try to stand out. Larry Borcher compared Bernie Sanders to a rhetorical and political bulldozer. Listen to this from Joe Biden talking about his record on gun control in the African American community.
You know, we talk about progressives. Let's talk about being progressive. Walking distance here is Mother Emanuel Church. 9 people shot dead by a white supremacist. Bernie voted 5 times against the Brady bill and wanted a waiting period. No, let me finish. And waited a waiting period of 12 hours. I'm not saying he's responsible for the 9 deaths, but that man would not have been able to get that weapon with the waiting period that Bill I suggest until you are cleared.
Back now with the team. He brings this up quite a lot as an attack on Sanders and others. I mean, it's been brought up a number of times during debates in the past, but he's sort of the only one kind of still pushing on this. Does it work?
We don't know, but I think it's an open door for him. He feels it's a real opportunity. I'm surprised did Bloomberg chime in on that? I think he might have eventually.
My guess is Bloomberg's going to chime in with about $100 million very soon.
But I think it's no surprise that Biden would go on the attack this way on Sanders. And
Sorry.
I think that there are lots of other issues that Biden can attack him on, but this is just so obvious for him, whether it helps him in South Carolina. It might help him nationally with Democrats, certainly to divide Bernie Sanders from what he considers to be the mainstream of the Democratic Party, which he believes that he represents. And Sanders then comes out and says, look, that was a long time ago and I've changed my mind. And I supported, the assault weapons ban. I lost a race for Congress. I supported the assault weapons ban, which is true. So Bernie has a good answer on that, which is to say, I'm different now from the way I was then, which a lot of voters in that state, most notably Michael Bloomberg, just can't bring
Although he
themselves.
lost the race for Congress before he took the preliminary position. So the sequence is not complete.
You're right. You're absolutely right. But at least he did say that on other issues like Cuba and
that's better.
He can't say I made a mistake, but.
Yeah, I mean, I think, listen, this could help him in South Carolina. He obviously wrapped it in this very painful episode of the folks in that Charleston church, Mother Emanuel being shot dead. Charleston's going to be an important place to get out the African American vote, so you can see him doing that there with this issue that's very important to African Americans. You also saw him do the same thing with Tom Steyer on for-profit prisons. That's how they got into that big shouting match. You could barely hear what they were saying. It was a sort of a Tom Steyer I'd never seen before, yelling on stage, because Steyer is doing well with African Americans in South Carolina. He's been on air down there really since the impeachment ads that he's been running for years and years, and so you could tell where Biden sees some of the vulnerabilities he has with African Americans.
Let's play that exchange there.
I'm not stuck in a prison company thinking they do a better job, and I investigated and I sold it. Okay. You knew when you bought it they'd done that. First question. And in fact, since then I've worked to end the use of private prisons in my home state, and we've ended it. I've started a bank to support black ownership of businesses, women ownership of businesses, and Latino owners of businesses, because this financial service industry is prejudiced. I have worked tirelessly on this, and you know I'm right. You wrote the crime bill. Where we come from, that's called county convict.
So, I know Tom very well. He took that personally. That wasn't play acting. That wasn't something his team, hey, I'm finding a moment or whatever. Some stuff going on up there was that. Tom really believes in racial justice. I mean, he does. And I think for him to get hit on that, I think Tom feels very badly about the fact that he did invest in private prisons. And I think now private prisons are terrible odor. He got out of private prisons before they got in terrible odor. But that was an authentic response. And I think, for a Biden to go after a Tom shows you the fear Biden has, that this guy is clawed into my black firewall. That it's not just Bernie, it's the guy, Tom Steyer, in there, as you say, running ad after ad after ad and building black support at Biden's expense.
Tom Steyer's standing by with Aaron and Danish. Let's go to them.
Thanks so much, and we have Tom Steyer here. You were watching that clip. I won't say it. You'll say what your reaction was watching it after the fact.
Well, racial justice is something I care an amazing amount. And, my family's been involved in it for decades. And so I take it really seriously. And I was pushing back hard because I care a lot about it. And I've worked on it for years. And I thought that for someone who wrote the crime bill that put hundreds of thousands of black young men and Latino young men in prison in a way that's never happened before was really unfair. Because this is something, if you look at my history, this is something I've worked on. I was telling the truth. I've worked on this tirelessly, my whole family has. We've started a bank, literally, to push back against racial prejudice in the financial services industry. And we've done that for 15 years, not because I was running for president, because it's the right thing to do and I care about it.
The fact that the former vice president had his opposition research ready to go, he wanted to hit you on the private prison issue. It's obvious if you look at the polls why that is. His campaign, people around him and people who are supporting him think that his support has gone down here in South Carolina, particularly among African Americans, because you've taken it away.
Look, honestly, I've been hearing that, and that also gets me a little upset. And I'll tell you what.
Don't you want to do well?
No, I do want to do well, but there's an implication in there that somehow a politician
politician owns black votes, has a right to black votes, and I don't believe that for a second. I think that the truth of the matter is that, which I've said publicly, the African American community has been the moral leadership of this country. And the idea that somehow losing those votes is losing something that you own, I just completely reject that idea.
So when he said you're a Tommy come lately, which we heard there in the clip, but he then said again.
I don't even know
That
that.
made you mad? I mean,
No, I don't think.
You're just jumping into it. He's trying to say I've spent my decades and decades doing this, and here you're coming in, sailing in, thinking you can take away from it.
I have no idea even what that means. I find that numerous.
So again, Joe Biden's focus on you though. Does it surprise you? And when you say that a politician owns it, at the end of the debate, you were asked about how what you think people don't get about you, and you said that I'm all about business excess and money.
And the truth of the matter is what I'm really about is what I said, doing the right thing and telling the truth. And that's exactly what I try and do all the time. So I take that really seriously. People always ask me, why do you care about this stuff? The answer is, no, this is who I am. This is what I care about. I'm not caring about this in order to get something. This is what I care about. This is where my heart is. This is what gets me up in the morning, and I've been doing it for a long time, and this is what I'm interested in, and this is my motivation in life. My motivation in life is not to win an election. My motivation in life is to tell the truth and do the right thing, and that's what I'm trying. So if someone comes after me at that, I'm upset.
You outspent your rivals by a lot in Nevada on TV. You think you spent like $12 or $13 million, you can correct me if I'm wrong, and you didn't get a lot for it when it comes to votes or delegate caucus support. It could be different here, but obviously your goal is to be the Democratic nominee, but you also are a businessman who knows math. So what are you thinking as you go into Saturday, but then more broadly, about how much money you were willing to spend to keep going?
Look, if I can't show that I'm the person who can pull together this broad Democratic coalition across racial and philosophical backgrounds, then that's what I intend to show on Saturday. That's what I think is important. What I was trying to say today is, look, we need to beat Donald Trump in November. That means we have to pull together the Democratic Party. There are a lot more of us than there are of them, but there aren't a lot more of us if we don't all show up.
How do you quantify showing?
Turnout.
But I mean, do you have it in your mind, a percentage?
No, I think we'll look at it and see. But that's going to be the point. Look, and I'm serious about this. What I was trying to say tonight is, having the press wants to think that there are really two candidates left in this race. A socialist who wants the government to take over large parts of the economy, and a former Republican mayor who's had a lot of policies that don't actually accord with Democratic values. Things like, stop and frisk and redlining, and it was actually supported, I think Elizabeth Warren brought up that he supported a lot of Republicans, including George W. Bush. And so the question is, if we're going to try and pull this party together, is that risky, or shouldn't we follow somebody who's a progressive Democrat and can pull the party together across all the divisions? And what I'm arguing is that's what we should be doing in order to beat Donald Trump, that we need someone who can... Look, Trump is incompetent. We're seeing this in coronavirus, but we're seeing it in his handling of the economy too. He is incompetent, and we need someone who can talk about competence and job creation and putting money in people's pockets and letting it stay there in a way that hasn't happened in 40 years. That's what Americans need to hear. Why are we better than Donald Trump in terms of their prospects in life?
All right, thank you very much, Tom Steyer. Appreciate your
Nice
time
to see you
tonight.
both.
And we have to get a break in, and just ahead we'll hear from a group of South Carolina voters and get their thoughts on what they saw tonight in that fracas. We never get to use that word, fracas. We'll be right back.
We don't use it enough.
Such news! This February comes a dazzling new vision of Jane Austen's beloved comedy, and all of Highbury will be there.
Emma, they're here!
We cannot do that dance.
Welcome!
Mother, do you hear? Miss Woodhouse has invited us to Hartfield!
Emma, rated PG, now in select theaters.
At Fidelity, we'll help you build a clear plan for retirement, one that covers healthcare costs, taxes, and any other uncertainties. Because when you're with Fidelity, a partner who makes sure every step is clear, there's nothing to stop you from moving forward.
My WW's been an amazing journey. It's almost like a challenge every day to see how well I can eat and still enjoy myself all day long. I wake up every morning to see how much weight I've lost and how much better I look.
My WW. Join for free and get 3 months free.
I saw them out of the corner of my eye. Just a blur when they took the median. There was nothing I could do. She's safe because of our first Outback. And our new one's even safer.
Welcome to the all-new Subaru Outback. An IIHS Top Safety Pick Plus. The highest level of safety you can earn.
You've been hearing a lot about 5G, but there's 5G.
And then there's Verizon 5G. We're building the most powerful 5G experience for America.
It's more than 10 times faster than some other 5G networks.
And it's rolling out in cities across the country.
So people can experience speeds that ultra-wideband can't deliver.
1.7 gigs here in Houston.
1.8 gigs here in frigid Omaha.
Almost 2 gigs here in Los Angeles. That's outrageous.
It's like an 8-lane highway compared to a 2-lane dirt road.
At today's Best Western, stay 2 nights and get a free night for your next stay. 1 night, 2 nights, free night. Book now at bestwestern.com.
I am totally blind, and Non-24 can throw my days and nights out of sync, keeping me from the things I love to do. Talk to your doctor and call 844-214-2424.
So, you want to be the leader of the free world? Just how far will you go to get what you want? Will you turn friends into enemies? Will you break your own rules? The race for the White House is on.
Can my side be firm?
Mine's super soft. With the Sleep Number 360 smart bed, you can both adjust your comfort with your Sleep Number setting.
But can it help keep me asleep?
Absolutely. It intelligently senses your movements and automatically adjusts to keep you both effortlessly comfortable.
And snoring?
No problem. And done.
Will it help me keep up with him?
Yep.
So I wake up ready for anything?
Oh, we've got you back.
So you can really promise better sleep?
Not promise, prove. And now save up to $600 on select Sleep Number 360 smart beds, only for a limited time.
Bloomberg Group, more than 35 million people have experienced the global smash hit. And now it's your turn. The new tour has original music, signature audience surprises, and hilarious absurdity. It's still blue, the rest is all new. Get ready for an experience that unites audiences of all ages at Bloomberg Group.
Come to the Berglund Center March 26th for one night only. Tickets available at Broadway and Roanoke.com or at the Berglund Center box office.
The Windsors, Inside the Royal Dynasty. Sundays at 10 on CNN.
Well, beyond anything the candidate or the experts have to say about the debate, what matters most tonight is what primary voters make of what they saw. With that in mind, let's check in with Gary Tuckman in Allendale, South Carolina, near the Georgia border. Gary?
Anderson, there are 46 counties in the state of South Carolina, and we are here in Allendale County, 90 miles west of where the debate was in Charleston, watching the debate with some loyal Democratic voters here in what may be the bluest county in this red state. Got 76% of the vote here, Donald Trump 22%, of the highest percentage of the states. We wanted to come here, watch it with these loyal Democrats. 11 of these 12 people were undecided going into this evening. The one woman sitting in the middle of the front row, Wilda Robson, the only one who voted absentee early for Joe Biden. But now, we want to see of the 12 of you, who you thought did the best tonight. Who do you think did the best?
I thought Mike Bloomberg did the best.
Mike Bloomberg.
I thought Vice President Biden did the best.
Vice President Biden.
There are people to judge.
Biden.
Mike Bloomberg. Vice President Biden.
Biden.
Warren.
Warren.
Mayor Pete. Biden.
How many said Biden? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. How many said Warren? 2. How many said Bloomberg? Buttigieg? And those were only votes. So Joe Biden did the best among this group. How many have now, based on this debate, decided who they're going to vote for? 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 of you have now made your decision. Who have you decided you're going to vote for?
Vice President Biden.
Biden.
There are people to judge.
Buttigieg. Biden? Biden, anyone else? The rest of you remain undecided. You already voted for Biden.
Already voted.
So this is good news for Joe Biden. Why do you think Joe Biden did so well?
Showed character, integrity, and leadership skills. He has the ability to be able to interact with national leaders, international leaders. He's been there. He's done that.
Okay, now, Bernie Sanders, the front runner, most delegates so far. None of you picked Bernie Sanders tonight. Why did you like Bernie Sanders?
I didn't like how he opened in the debate by throwing slams at Bloomberg, and it just started out on a bad course for the rest of the debate.
You think there was too much animosity?
Yeah, a lot of hostility, and it just wasn't very pleasant to watch most of the debate.
Now, most of you told me before that you think Bloomberg did a better job this time around. You think Bloomberg did the best job. Tell me why.
Well, compared to what his actions last week, he did a much better job.
How do you think he handled stop and frisk?
I think he cleaned that up. I think the way that he spoke about it and he owned up to it, I think he put himself in a better position.
Do you trust him?
I do.
You do, so you believe in what he says?
Yes.
Does anyone still have doubts about Mike Bloomberg? Why do you have doubts about him?
I didn't think he cleared it up. I think he said what he wanted the Americans to know, or wanted the Americans to feel or hear from him. I don't think he was honest with that.
Why do you think he wasn't honest though? How could you tell?
I think his facial expressions.
Just based on his face?
His face.
Now let me ask you this question here. Most of you like Joe Biden the best right now. Do you think Joe Biden can beat Donald Trump?
Yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Why do you think that?
I just think he has the experience.
Are there any concerns though about his performances in the past?
I don't think so. No. I think he's the man that's got the plan.
And the final question I want to ask you, would you vote for any of these Democratic candidates over Donald Trump?
Yes.
Yes.
These are loyal Democrats, as I said, and they will be going to the polls. No early voting in South Carolina except for the absentee ballot.
Well, it's early.
That's early. But these people will all be going to the polls.
Yes.
And Sid, back to you.
Gary, thanks very much, and please give our thanks to all of them for that. Thanks very much. Our panel's reactions, what everyone said next. We'll be right back.
What are you doing here?
Go to the comments again right now.
We have detected extraterrestrial life.
Everyone's dead, aren't they?
Help me, please.
How do they know so much about us?
Excuse me, is there a problem here?
You're in a no parking zone.
I didn't know.
You didn't see the sign?
That wasn't there when I was here earlier.
Really?
You know, in Italy, they let you park anywhere.
Have a good day, sir.
With Geico, the savings keep on going, just like this sequel. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
What's going on?
It's a 3 p.m. slump.
Should I be 3?
Yeah.
Need energy? Get D3 with a mix of meat, cheese, and nuts.
Introducing Schwab Intelligent Income, a simple, modern way to pay yourself from your portfolio. Tell us how much you have and how long you need it to last. We'll estimate how much you could spend, then you can decide how you'll spend it. Schwab manages the complexity with automated tax-smart withdrawals that you can start, stop, or adjust at any time with no penalties, and you pay no advisory fee. Schwab Intelligent Income. Schwab, a modern approach to wealth management.
Carl and Alan, they're staying at the same hotel, but there's one big difference, the price. Carl found the hotel on his usual website, whereas Alan used Trivago to scan hotel deals from the major booking sites and save $30 a night. Hotel, Trivago.
At Angie's List, we hope you feel confident about hiring pros for home projects. You can check their ratings, read verified reviews, and easily request multiple quotes. Find all the pros you need to know at angieslist.com.
I used to have to go in to the auto parts store. Pay too much, never find quite what I'm looking for. Now I just go online, rock auto and see all the parts my car will ever need. Lower prices, lower parts, lower brands. It's
avoid getting stuck in the middle of the seats.
Please scare me. Who can be scared of a tree? You know what's crazy? Squirrels are crazy. Maybe I was a squirrel in a past life. I don't know. It's possible.
But when you switch to eShirts, you could save an average of $462 and a lot of pay. It's as easy as switching seats.
Really? Thank you. I call it my plain cardigan. Hi, Dennis Page. Oh, hey, check this out. I didn't know you were going to want ugly. I didn't see half what we got. When I was little, I lived in a tent for a whole summer.
When insurance is affordable, it's surprisingly painless.
TV just keeps getting better. How you watch it does too. This is Xfinity X1, featuring the Emmy Award-winning voice remote. Streaming services without changing passwords and inputs. Live sports with real-time stats and scores. Access to the most 4K content. And your movies and shows to go. The best TV experience is the best TV value. Xfinity X1. Simple, easy, awesome. Xfinity, the future of awesome.
The Windsors, Inside the Royal Dynasty, Sundays at 10 on CNN.
Before the break, you heard from South Carolina voters in the state's bluest county weighing in on tonight's debate. Let's go to our focus group to weigh in right now.
Yeah, I would just say some of these debates have had a real material impact. I don't think this one did. I don't think very much changed tonight.
I think you saw very self-confident Joe Biden, which you have not seen before, predicting he's going to win South Carolina. So we'll have to see if that happens. So I think maybe he did himself some good here, and Bloomberg lives to actually compete at a certain point.
And we'll see what Bloomberg does tomorrow. He's in the town hall. That'll be interesting. He obviously prepared for this debate. Did, I think, horribly on some answers, stop and frisk in particular, not really showing empathy, but we'll see. I mean, the town hall setting will be good because he's going to be interacting with actual human beings. And so maybe he'll be more of a human being.
I would have liked to see a lot more substance than style. You got a lot in the weeds, and we didn't talk about the suffering that exists in this country right now. And I really think that's what these debates should be about.
And I thought that Bernie emerged essentially unscathed. You saw that he didn't make a big difference for some of those South Carolina voters. I think that bodes poorly for him. Bernie's got to understand he has two different kinds of critics. There are people who are just a part of the status quo and they're complacent with him. To those people he shows a lot of contempt. There's another set. They're just afraid. Afraid he can't do it, afraid they're going to lose their seat, afraid he can't get there. And those people need reassurance, not contempt.
Because if you say to him in an interview, well, it's he says and rallies right now, I'm making a lot of people nervous. The corporate media, Wall Street, pharma, the Democratic establishment.
But it's not only establishment. Those people may be complacent. There are other people who are afraid they need reassurance.
Well, he has to make the transition from insurgent to frontrunner.
I feel like Mount Bernie showed a tinge of vulnerability tonight, and I think Joe Biden had a very strong night. I'd look for Joe to carry some momentum through South Carolina into Super Tuesday.
I just think the next time that we have a debate, we will be on the other side of Super Tuesday. We will be in a completely different phase of this very, very long campaign. So I think this was an interesting night. I don't know how illustrative it was of how the candidates are going to do this weekend or next Tuesday. But I'm
after Super Tuesday, a number of these candidates will no longer.
Yeah, I mean, this is the last time we see this group of candidates on stage together. Like the next time they all get together, there will be fewer of them.
Do you think anybody will drop out between South Carolina and Super Tuesday?
I think if Tom Steyer does really poorly, he could be the one to exit the race. Yeah.
All right. Thanks everybody. We'll be right back. More ahead.
My derm just let me in on her little anti-aging secret, glycolic acid.
Revitalift 10% glycolic acid serum with our highest concentration of glycolic acid resurfaces skin to visibly reduce dark spots and wrinkles. Revitalift glycolic acid serum from L'Oreal.
If you're living with HIV, keep being you and ask your doctor about Biktarvy.
Biktarvy is a complete one-pill, once-a-day treatment used for HIV in certain adults. It's not a cure, but with one small pill, Biktarvy fights HIV to help you get to and stay undetectable. That's when the amount of virus is so low it can't be measured by a lab test. Research shows people who take HIV treatment every day and get to and stay undetectable can no longer transmit HIV through sex. Serious side effects can occur, including kidney problems and kidney failure. Rare, life-threatening side effects include a buildup of lactic acid and liver problems. Do not take Biktarvy if you take dofetilide or rifampin. Tell your doctor about all the medicines and supplements you take if you are pregnant or breastfeeding, or if you have kidney or liver problems, including hepatitis. If you have hepatitis B, do not stop taking Biktarvy without talking to your doctor. Common side effects were diarrhea, nausea, and headache.
If you're living with HIV, keep loving who you are and ask your doctor if Biktarvy is right for you.
Fact. Emily hasn't bought groceries in weeks. So how is she creating this masterpiece? Her freezer is stocked with Daily Harvest. That's how. Chef-crafted food, organic ingredients, delivered to your door, ready in minutes. See for yourself at dailyharvest.com. Go to dailyharvest.com and get started today.
Apps are used everywhere except work. Why is that? Is it because people love filling out forms? Maybe they like checking with their supervisor to see how much vacation time they have. Or sending corporate their expense reports? I'll let you in on a little secret. They don't. By empowering employees to manage their own tasks, Paycom frees you to focus on the business of business. To learn more, visit paycom.com.
What if there was something that can reduce body fat, boost mood, get rid of wrinkles, tighten saggy skin, and make you look and feel decades, not years, but decades younger? Interested?
Zero Vital, available at Ulta and smarter retailers nationwide.
With SimpliSafe's Video Doorbell Pro, you'll know if the person at your door is friend or foe. Or just a late night cheese pizza with extra meatballs. With my smart lock, I can let him in. Entree move. And I can lock up from right here. Same time tomorrow. So take it from an expert. Get SimpliSafe and protect home like a pro.
Visit simplysafe.com for a limited time offer.
Our debate coverage continues. I want to turn things over to Chris Cuomo. Chris?
All right, Anderson, thank you very much. What an important night. I am Chris Cuomo. Welcome to a special midnight edition of Prime Time. We're going to keep this going because the 2020 stakes keep getting higher and higher. This was absolutely the last opportunity for the Democratic presidential candidate as a field to vie for votes on the national stage before the contest blitz on Super Tuesday and before South Carolina's primary, of course, on Saturday. And really, Saturday matters, especially where Bernie Sanders is involved. So, no surprise, most of the daggers were going at the front line.
But I think I would make a better president than Bernie.
Imagine spending the better part of 2020 with Bernie Sanders versus Donald Trump. Think about what that will be like for this country.
Bernie Sanders' analysis is right. The difference is I don't like his solutions. Bernie, in fact, hasn't passed much of anything.
I do not think that this is the best person to lead the ticket.
If you keep on going, we will elect Bernie. Bernie will lose to Donald Trump.
All right, let's unpack the fight night with Hillary Rosen, Philip Bump, Bakari Sellers, and John Editorial. Thanks, everybody, for being with us. Hey, Bakari, you were in the room. Help us understand something a little bit better. Bump was writing about it earlier. Rosen and I were guessing about it. When we heard an unusually loud crowd response tonight, let's say when Warren and Bloomberg were going at it, or really she was going at him early on, what was your take on the divisions in the room? Did it seem like some campaigns had more people? Were they just louder than usual?
Well, I mean, welcome to South Carolina politics. I mean, this is the home of Lee Atwater. This is the home of
of bare knuckle politics. I mean, we were in Charleston, South Carolina. People were having a good time. And I think you heard that in the room. I think some people were maybe agitated by it. This was Bernie Sanders' first away game, to say the least. But it was a jovial environment. People were excited about choosing who would be the best nominee. But the fact is, there were no plants in the audience. There were no plants from Bloomberg, no plants from Biden, no one else. And I know that a lot of my friends who support Bernie Sanders were a bit antagonistic to the crowd. But my point is that welcome to South Carolina, where, you know, Bernie Sanders wins less than one or probably 1 out of every 5 voters. So you heard the other 4 out of 5 voters in that audience. That's just the way it is. He's going to have to 25 or 30% his way to victory. And tonight you heard the audience, you know, for better or for worse, voice their displeasure when they felt like it. Welcome to South Carolina, Chris.
Well, appreciate it. Was there yesterday, be back there tomorrow. I've been there dozens of times. Always happy to see it unfold, but really appreciate the perspective. That's helpful to us in making the analysis. So with that in mind, what you thought was the defining moment earlier for Elizabeth Warren wasn't the Bloomberg attack. It was turning towards Bernie and saying, there's a real difference. What you take now?
You know, all week long, Elizabeth Warren was riding high on her attack on Mike Bloomberg in the last debate. She raised a lot of money out of it, but people were saying, you know what, Bernie is ahead. When is she going to look up instead of down? And with her attack on Bernie, I feel like she is the one that has the most credible attack on policy. The best chance of sort of getting to Bernie supporters to say, I agree with you on policy, but I'm gonna implement the policy better. And she did that, I thought, effectively tonight. I think that she put herself back in the game, not with a gimmick, but actually with some substance.
A reflection of the state of play in the party. With all due respect, on the West Coast it's still about 9 o'clock. Here it's a little later, so I'll be a little bit more edgy with this comment. The famous song, clowns to the left of me, jokers to the right, here I am. This Democratic Party, we sometimes say battle for the soul, and it's kind of more trite than true. It's true this time, and it seems to be the fringes that are attacking its very core. What you think?
Yeah,
you wrote about this. That's why I'm bringing
right.
it up.
No. It's a fair point. We were talking earlier about how we have, 2 of the most prominent actors on that stage were Michael Bloomberg, who was there by virtue of having literally billions of dollars to spend. I mean, running an ad in the middle of the debate, which was, a pretty bold move. And then Bernie Sanders, who has this fervent core base of support, which really has helped propel him into this fight. Obviously carried over from 2016 somewhat. But the party itself is seeing its own institutional power threatened by the fact that, the former mayor of New York, who's only been a Democrat for a year or two, and this independent who isn't a Democrat at all, who are really the ones jockeying for position. Obviously, they would prefer, probably, a lot of the Democratic establishment to have former Vice President Joe Biden be the person who
It is bizarre, right? You have Bloomberg, who was a Democrat, then he became a Republican/independent. You got Elizabeth Warren, who was a Republican, is now a Democrat. I mean, it's really bizarre. Now, Editorial, you like this, because you like to see the party being tested and redefined with more progressive policies. So let's tee up what Elizabeth Warren tried to do to the front runner tonight and get your take.
I think I would make a better president than Bernie. And the reason for that is that getting a progressive agenda enacted is going to be really hard. And it's going to take someone who digs into the details to make it happen. Bernie and I both want to see universal health care. But Bernie's plan doesn't explain how to get there, doesn't show how we're going to get enough allies into it, and doesn't show enough about how we're going to pay for it. And I dug in, I did the work, and then Bernie's team trashed me for it.
Now, it's not looking at Bloomberg and saying, you're as much of a menace to women as Donald Trump is, and you're the biggest threat on this stage for Democrats, but this was different for her. What's the plus minus for you on the play?
I think it makes a lot of sense. I mean, she needs to regain some of the support that she's lost over the past couple of months. And honestly, while I support Bernie Sanders, I don't begrudge her trying to differentiate herself from Sanders, particularly if she's going to do so on policy grounds. I disagree with her read. I don't think that she's necessarily laid out a path to passing her legislation that's substantially different from Bernie Sanders. But those sorts of attacks, I think that is exactly what the debate stage for, and I don't have any problem with it whatsoever.
Bakari, you're part of the future of that party. How does it look to you up there on that stage tonight?
It looks bold. It looks beautiful. I mean, the only thing that I wish is that we have more diversity. I think right now in South Carolina, people are weighing the fact that, right, this is the first time the base of the party gets an opportunity to vote. I mean, with all due respect to Iowa, New Hampshire, Nevada, when you look at the results from Nevada, you had 100,000 people to vote. Let's break that down and what the numbers are. You've had between 6,000 and 10,000 African Americans. You have between 10 and 15, maybe 20,000 Hispanic voters vote. In South Carolina, you're going to have way more than that. This is the base of the party. We're here now. And with all due respect to all the Bernie Sanders supporters, and I'm with you, and I think that he's expanded his base, but now I want you to keep that same energy. When we come to South Carolina on Saturday, Bernie Sanders has to prove that he can expand his base. He has to prove that he can win over African American voters, my mama and her friends, black voters of a certain age, especially black female voters. If Bernie Sanders continues the path that he kept in 2016 of getting swept in the South, then that is not going to be the nominee for the party. I actually feel like this is the healthiest we've been in a long period of time. I know that people want to say the establishment or whatever, you have this level of trepidation, but tonight and the last debate were very good debates. I wish there was more diversity. I wish there were more people of color. I wish there were more perspectives. But, you know, we're going to beat Donald Trump in November, and I'm confident that whoever it is, even if it's Bernie Sanders, give me a t-shirt and a hat. I'll put up a yard sign.
Well, let me grab a quick break. We'll pick up all the points right after it. Thank you very much. There's a lot on the table to discuss. We'll do just that right after this.
At Farmers Insurance, we've seen almost everything, so we know how to cover almost anything, even a gold medal grizzly. What a life. Not exactly a skinny dipper, but we covered it. At Farmers, we know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two. So call 1-800-FARMERS to get a quote.
We are farmers. Bum, 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 bum. I don't know why I love you, but I do.
Everything your trip needs for everyone you love. Expedia.
Having an idea for a business was easy, but without the right team and the right tools in place, it's just an idea. That's why I use NetSuite.
NetSuite is the world's #1 cloud business system. Schedule your free product tour right now at netsuite.com/grow.
Feel the clarity of new, non-drowsy Claritin Cool Mint Chewables. The only allergy product with relief of your worst symptoms, including itchy throat, plus an immediate blast of cooling sensation. Feel the clarity and live Claritin Clear.
You've been hearing a lot about 5G, but there's 5G.
And then there's Verizon 5G. We're building the most powerful 5G experience for America.
It's more than 10 times faster than some other 5G networks.
And it's rolling out in cities across the country. So people can experience speeds that ultra-wideband can't deliver. 1.7 gigs here in Houston.
1.8 gigs here in frigid Omaha.
Almost 2 gigs here in Los Angeles. That's outrageous.
It's like an 8-lane highway compared to a 2-lane dirt road.
Things you can do with Schwab. You can earn more when you invest your cash. You can get a satisfaction guarantee. You can also wonder why our competitors don't offer that. Schwab, a modern approach to wealth management.
When you're looking to hire, you can find just the right person on Indeed. Indeed gives you tools like online skills tests, which help a candidate show they're the right hire. We'll also give you this groundhog that will come out when the right candidate appears.
Great. You got the job.
Okay, there's no groundhog, but skills tests for sure. Try skills tests free when you post your job at Indeed.com/groundhog.
So we both know there's Nazis living in America.
You know what the best revenge is? Revenge.
Let's move a little dot, make it a little loud, and get down tonight.
It's about justice for 11 million people.
All his life, Jimmy's dog had a natural food obsession.
Jimmy's wallet, which caused Jimmy to get in some unfortunate situations.
If this has been chewed, like who chewed this?
This works less than my lazy grandson. Until Jimmy found clear. Now all Jimmy needs to move through the world is Jimmy. So Jimmy can spend less time waiting in line at the airport and more time with the ones that matter most. Enroll today at clearme.com.
My good friend on the end of this platform, he in fact bought a system that was a private prison system. After he knew that in fact what happened was they hog-tied young men in prison here in this state.
Mr. Mayor, you're allowed to respond.
Stock in a prison company thinking they do a better job, and I investigated and I sold it. Okay. You knew when you bought it they'd done that. And in fact, since then, I've worked to end the use of private prisons in my home state, and we've ended it.
We come from, let's call it county completely.
There's something going on here. I have worked for racial justice completely, and that is an absolute unfair state.
All I know is...
County completely. All right, you want a little behind the scenes action? This is two great things that are going on behind what you see going on. The first thing is, that's no coincidence. Biden felt he had to do this. Why? We'll explain in a second. Second thing is, most dangerous words in politics. My friend, but, and with all due respect. When you hear one of those three things, duck. Let's get more reaction from our power players. Now, Biden going after Steyer, all you need to do is see the numbers in South Carolina. Steyer has been outsized there in spending and organizing. He's in the teens. He's like that nowhere else. What did Biden need to do?
Very deliberate from the Biden campaign. For weeks now, Steyer has been a thorn in their side in South Carolina, doing what they think is preventing them from running away with this from Bernie. And so Biden felt like the only choice he had tonight was to discount Steyer so that he could have this as being a one-on-one with Bernie.
What's the bump, plus minus?
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. I mean, but Biden has to win South Carolina. He has to win South Carolina. He's been expected to. He keeps predicting he's going to win South Carolina. Steyer, people forget, Steyer Bloomberg South Carolina before Bloomberg was in the race, right? He dumped a ton of money in there, ran a ton of TV ads, had a ton of people on the ground to build up his numbers in the state. NBC Mayor's poll just came out, and he's pulling about a fifth of the black vote in the state. Biden needs that vote. He needs that vote in order to beat Bernie Sanders. That's his entire value proposition in this fight. If he doesn't win South Carolina, he's totally doomed. He had to engage in this fight.
If you're going to give Bloomberg a verb, should it be Bloomberged or should it be Bloom? Because it goes wrong. That's something that you would write about, though. You're the only guy smart enough to tomorrow. So, Bakari, let me ask you a question. What is winning for Joe Biden? 1 point, 2 points, 3 points? What gives the message he needs to send?
Winning is winning. First of all, I've won races in South Carolina, and I've lost races in South Carolina. And trust me, if I could have beat Henry McMaster by 50% plus one vote, I would not be a CNN commentator right now. I would actually be in the lieutenant governor's house or the governor's mansion. So trust me, winning is winning. So I don't even want to go down that path. With Joe Biden, I mean, with all due respect to my good friend Philip, like Joe Biden he's going to, with all due respect.
This is going to be terrible.
Yeah, I know. Joe Biden's going to win South Carolina. Folks, like, this is not a question. And with all due respect to everyone who's watching and waiting, like the polls, we're not really buying those. Joe Biden is going to win South Carolina. The question is, how much is he going to win South Carolina by?
Yes.
To your question, Chris, I think that a win for Joe Biden at 5, 6, 7 points is good. I actually think he's going to eclipse that. I think he's going to be more in the 10 to 15 point range, which will catapult him. I'm a Kamala Harris supporter and fan, so I'm not in the Joe Biden camp, but I do know South Carolina extremely well. My dad called me today. He said, "What are they doing for Joe Biden today?" My dad is taking people to the polls tomorrow for Joe Biden. I mean, that is just the way it is because of the familiarity with who Joe Biden is. And with all due respect to Tom Steyer and Bernie Sanders and everyone else, like, it's very difficult to come into black communities late and say you're all of a sudden going to be our champion. We work too hard for the rights that we have to trust an unknown.
All right, so John, let's flip it a second, and then Hillary, please weigh in. For Bernie Sanders, all right, what is the margin where you guys would feel like, oh, all right, Biden did not get it done. Bernie is good to go for Super Tuesday.
Well, I mean, look, obviously, if he pulls out the win, which I disagree to some extent with Bakari, I don't think it's by any means a guarantee that Biden is going to win, but he's certainly doing well. Bernie could well end up in second place. I'll grant you that. But the thing is, looking forward from South Carolina, Super Tuesday is already looking amazing for Bernie Sanders. I have no doubt that if Biden wins, he's going to have a great Saturday night. But what is Monday and Tuesday? What are those going to look like? Looking to California, to Texas, across the map, the polls are looking great for Bernie Sanders. So it would be great for him to go 4 for 4. We should at least acknowledge that he pulled off a record of 3 out of 3 for the last 2 decades. But Super Tuesday is coming up very soon. There's not a lot of time to transition from South Carolina to a big investment across the entire country.
That's exactly the point. You don't have time. So what you need, Bakari, is you need the win. And it's going to make a big deal for
Can I
Biden.
just chime in
Go ahead, please.
really quickly? Really quickly. First of all, I love this Bernie Sanders has won 3 states in a row thing. That's cool, but Nevada just started in 2008, so it's really like a red herring and a false talking point. But the fact is, what people want Bernie Sanders to do is be able, and I noticed you said California and Texas. Actually, Joe Biden's up in Texas and California. It takes them until Kwanzaa and Hanukkah and Christmas to count their ballots. So I don't think that's going to be an issue on Super Tuesday. But what I also will tell you is that Bernie Sanders has to do well in Tennessee. He has to do well in North Carolina. He has to do well in Georgia, Arkansas. He has to do well in these Super Tuesday states where black people vote. And so that's my only point. I want Bernie Sanders to do well in these places to prove that he can be the torchbearer for the Democratic Party. Until he does that, it's nothing more.
All right, I'm with you. Let me get a take from the rest of the panel. Hillary, you're right to point out. By the way, no, don't apologize.
That was right.
Great, and I love having
Totally
the
agree
points
with
there. Thank you. Let me just get a couple more. Pete Buttigieg, we believe, from the latest recount, won in Iowa, but point stands, Bernie's doing well. What's your take?
Well, by the way, it was so interesting that it was Pete Buttigieg who talked about the 7 white people on the stage tonight talking about racial justice in South Carolina. But, to Bakari's earlier point on diversity. But look, I think that what we have with Bernie Sanders is a fundamental difference as a politician. He doesn't think in identity politics. He talks in class politics. And I think that that breeds a level of distrust among certain voters, like African Americans, like, frankly, some women, because there's not, the one thing he hasn't really done in the 4 years he's been running for president since, 2016 is he hasn't expanded his communication. He hasn't expanded his involvement, his engagement. He's just done more of what he's always done. And I think that Bakari's right. The challenge for him going forward is, can he show more empathy with a larger part of the Democratic primary audience?
Similar to Trump.
Which he doesn't really seem interested in doing, even though I think he might feel that way, he sure doesn't express it.
The idea of him doing better, we have seen, and again, to Bakari's big point, you want racial justice in the Democratic Party, change your schedule. Get Nevada and South Carolina up in the front, at least with New Hampshire and Iowa, and he's still backing Kamala Harris in this race right now, because she'd still be in it in all likelihood. With African American voters, we do see Bernie making a move he didn't make in 2016, at least incrementally, no?
Right. Yeah, I mean, people should remember the reason he lost in 2016 is because he didn't have black support. That's why he lost to Hillary Clinton. One of the things I think is underrecognized from the results in Nevada is Bernie Sanders has fared worse in each of the contests so far than he did in 2016, in large part because it's a bigger field. Exactly, there are more people in there. In Nevada, if you look at the exit polls, the places where he didn't lose support relative to 16 are among non-whites, black voters, and Hispanics. He held that base in Nevada, which is a very good sign.
And that's why this is going to be a big, big contest. Let's take a quick break. We come back. Moments from the night that start defining the state of play for the campaigns. We'll have it thanks to the panel. The Wizard of Odds will help us put some data to our decisions. Next.
Turn on my TV, boom, it's got all my favorite shows. I wish my trading platform worked like that.
Have you tried Thinkorswim? This is totally customizable.
Now, this is what I'm talking about.
Focus on what matters to you with Thinkorswim.
I use Rakuten to get cash back in store and online. Rakuten is free to sign up and it's in over 3,000 stores. I use it to buy makeup, travel, clothes, electronics.
To me, Rakuten is a great way to get cash back on anything you buy.
Sign up today and rack it up with Rakuten.
If you have moderate to severe psoriasis or psoriatic arthritis, Little things can become your big moment. That's why there's Otezla. Otezla is not an injection or a cream. It's a pill that treats differently. For psoriasis, 75% clearer skin is achievable with reduced redness, thickness, and scaliness of flax. For psoriatic arthritis, Otezla is proven to reduce joint swelling, tenderness, and pain. And the Otezla prescribing information has no requirement.